Nancy pressed her gloved hand against the obsidian surface of the structure, feeling nothing through the environmental suit, but knowing that beneath her palm lay something impossibly old. The archaeological expedition to Kepler-4 had been routine until 3 days ago, when ground-penetrating radar revealed what shouldn't exist, a perfectly geometrical void, 7 kilometers beneath the planet's crust. Any readings? Parker's voice crackled through her helmet comm. He stood 20 meters away, manipulating a hovering scanner ray that bathed the excavation site in pale blue light. Nothing coherent, Nancy replied, stepping back to examine the obsidian wall that had taken them 48 hours of continuous drilling to expose. The material isn't registering on any known compositional database. It's like it's refusing to be analyzed. Parker frowned at his display. That's not scientifically possible. Neither is a structure this precisely manufactured existing to 0.3 billion years before the earliest known spacefaring civilization, Nancy countered, moving along the wall's surface. Her helmet lamp caught something, a subtle shift in the texture, almost organic in its fluidity. Parker, come look at this. As Parker approached, Nancy's fingers traced what appeared to be a seam. Though calling it such felt inadequate, it was more like a suggestion of separation, a place where the obsidian almost wanted to part. She leaned closer, and her helmet's external sensors registered a faint electromagnetic pulse. "Did you feel that?" she whispered. Parker's scanner began emitting a rapid series of beeps. "Nancy, step back. I'm reading a massive power spike." The wall opened, not with mechanical precision or the grinding of ancient gears, but with the smooth inevitability of a flower blooming. The obsidian peeled back in layers, revealing a corridor that stretched into impossible darkness. The air that emerged carried no scent. Their suits prevented that, but every instrument they carried simultaneously registered and failed to register its composition. "We should call this in," Parker said. Though his feet were already moving toward the entrance, Nancy didn't respond. She was staring at the walls of the corridor, where symbols had begun to illuminate with soft golden light. They weren't like any writing system in the xenolinguistic databases. They were older, simpler, more fundamental. She walked forward, and Parker followed. The corridor extended for exactly 100 meters, before opening into a chamber that defied the expedition's earlier scans. It was vast, cathedral vast, with a ceiling that disappeared into shadow, despite the pervasive golden glow emanating from the walls. In the center stood a pillar, and rotating around it in slow, deliberate orbits were 7 crystalline spheres, each containing what looked like a slowly churning nebula. "This is impossible," Parker breathed. "This chamber is bigger than our scans indicated the entire structure could be." Nancy approached the pillar, her scientific training warring with an instinct she couldn't name. The sphere's rotation slowed as she drew near, and the symbols on the walls began to shift, rearranging themselves into patterns that hurt to look at directly, but somehow made perfect sense. In her peripheral vision, "Nancy, my scanner just shut down," Parker called out, voice tight with concern. All systems except life support just went dark, but Nancy wasn't listening. She was reading, not with her eyes, exactly, but with something deeper. The symbols weren't writing, they were memory, compressed and encoded into visual form. And as she stood before the pillar, those memories began to unfold in her mind like flowers opening to impossible suns. She saw Earth, not as it was, but as it had been, continents arranged in configurations that predated Pangaea, oceans where deserts now sprawled. She saw structures rising from those ancient landscapes, obsidian and gold, built by hands that were human, but not quite human. Homo sapiens, yes, but from a branch of the evolutionary tree that the fossil record had somehow missed or misinterpreted. They had built this, not humanity as it existed now, but humanity as it had been before the collapse, before the forgetting, before the species had regressed to caves and flint tools and had to slowly, painfully claw its way back to the stars. "We were spacefaring," Nancy whispered, tears streaming down her face though she didn't know why. "We were always spacefaring." The pillar pulsed, and one of the crystalline spheres detached from its orbit, drifting toward Nancy with deliberate intent. Parker shouted something, but the sound seemed distant, unimportant. The sphere hovered before her, and within its churning depths, Nancy saw star charts not of constellations as they appeared now, but as they had been arranged millions of years ago. Maps. They were maps to other sites, other caches of memory and technology, scattered across the galaxy by a humanity that had known it was dying, but refused to let its legacy die with it. The sphere touched her glove, and information flooded into her suit's storage systems, terabytes of data that should have been impossible for the simple expedition hardware to contain. Yet there it was, compressing and organizing itself within human efficiency. Parker grabbed her shoulder, pulling her back. "Nancy, we need to leave. Now, my suit's AI just came back online, and it's broadcasting a priority signal I've never seen before." Nancy blinked, returning to herself. "What kind of signal?" "A reclassification code," Parker said, his voice hollow. "It's transmitting to the Galactic Council's central database." "Nancy, the system the entire Galactic Index sits reclassifying humanity." "Reclassifying us as what?" Parker met her eyes through their helmet visors, and she saw her own wonder and terror reflected there. "Precursor species," he whispered. "It's listing humanity as a precursor species, not discovered by but creators of." Nancy looked back at the pillar, at the remaining 6 spheres still orbiting in their patient, ancient dance. Somewhere above them, automated systems were rewriting humanity's place in galactic history. Somewhere in the council chambers light years away, alien bureaucrats were probably panicking as their databases reorganized around a truth they hadn't prepared for. Humans hadn't reached the stars. They had returned to them. "We need to find the others," Nancy said quietly, clutching the crystalline sphere that had chosen to give up its secrets to her. "All the other sites. We need to remember what we forgot." Parker nodded slowly. "This changes everything." "No," Nancy corrected, taking one last look at the chamber that had waited millions of years for someone to find it, for someone to understand. "This explains everything." They walked back through the corridor together, the obsidian walls whispering their golden secrets to humans carrying the weight of their species' true history back into the light. Behind them, the ancient relic pulsed once more before falling silent, its purpose fulfilled, its message delivered. Humanity had come home.